Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about some current events and put them in a Gen X perspective. First off, we have the fact that the European Union and the United States have reached a trade agreement where the United States is going to put a 15% tariff on the European goods being sold here in America. And I guess both parties are happy with that. The thing that bothers me about this kind of stuff, they were afraid of a trade war, and everybody was talking about trade war and fear-mongering about a trade war because Donald Trump was going to tariff other countries and all that. We just have to ignore the fact that, when people are crying about that, about, how tariffs put on other countries will hurt the American consumer and we'll have to pay more and we're the one who pays the tariffs and everything. If any of that stuff is true, specifically, then why do other countries tariff us if it's just hurting themselves? Why do countries tariff at all? Why do any country put a tariff on anything if it's just hurting their own population and not doing any good for anybody else? Everybody else tariffs each other except the United States. So that irritates me when I hear about that shit. And this whole tariff war thing, or this whole trade war thing, that leads back to all this globalist shit, right? Globalism, globalist, this global economy, this bullshit. Why they wanted to tie the whole world together in some kind of, milk water, pasty, bland, homogenous bullshit, I don't know. It must be to make more money for themselves, open up new markets for themselves and shit, which is okay. But for each person on the ground, each regular working person, why the hell they would want a global economy is just beyond me. Before all this shit, here in America, we used to get stuff during season. There'd be an avocado season and we'd get avocados for a couple months out of the year, and the rest of the year we didn't have avocados. And then they opened up all this globalism shit and NAFTA and everything. And now we get avocados from South America, and we can have avocados year round. That's wonderful. What a wonderful reason to trade away our economic security and send away all of our manufacturing and all of those jobs with the manufacturing. What a way to just cripple ourselves as a country, for avocados. So we can have avocados in December or whatever. The people on the ground, I don't understand why we would trade, the population would trade those basic and fundamental, critical things like jobs and security for stupid shit like avocados. I don't know. I love avocados, but I would give them up in a heartbeat for job security and a strong economy and just prosperity for my fellow Americans. So I don't understand how just the common person can be for all this globalist shit. It's killing our country. It's killing Western civilization. Even though in this particular instance we are trading with other countries in Western civilization, still, it's not good. It's bad. It's bad for the common man. The other thing is that Donald Trump went over to Scotland and played some golf, I guess, to open up a new golf course of his or something, to promote some new golf course of his. And that would be fine and good. I mean, I have never had a vacation, not once in my life. If I had time off work, it was because I got laid off or something. I've never had the luxury of just taking a vacation and leaving the country. But, whatever, I guess running the free world gives you time to go play golf in Scotland. And I'm not down in the dude. I've seen presidents do that the whole time. They're playing golf at Martha's Vineyard or whatever, and doing all this shit. He's not the first one. He's nothing special there. But my point in bringing it up is the fact that he's telling us that we shouldn't be wasting our energy and our time worried about the Epstein file, right? That's pointless. With all the other big stuff going on in the world, the stuff with Iran and Ukraine and Israel and the floods in Texas and the trade wars and everything, we shouldn't be wasting our time asking about the Epstein files. And a week after he says that, he flies to Scotland to play golf. Well, I would say that you could have put your golf game off and worried about the Epstein files. The Epstein files, having basically criminals running our country, is far more important than golf or a vast number of things that the Epstein files would outrank in a ladder of importance. There's a lot of stuff that the Epstein file outranks, and I'd say that golf is definitely one of them. So I think, that hypocrisy there, we don't see that. I haven't seen that from Trump very often, but we're seeing it now. I don't like it. I still support him because a lot of the stuff he's doing is right. I agree with the tariffs. I agree with the deportations. I agree with so much of what he does. But this whole Epstein file has brought attention to something and brought up questions that aren't being answered. So that's where I'm at. And we recently had a Walmart stabbing in Michigan. And all the things I read about it, I have not ran across the person's nationality, okay? Which leads me to believe that the person is an immigrant. The perpetrator of the crime was an immigrant. Number one, because the media won't tell us if the person is an immigrant or not, the perpetrator. And number two is I see that all over the place when somebody go off and start stabbing people, random people, that it's normally an immigrant. Even in other countries, it's an immigrant that does that shit. I don't know why, but I don't know. Now, I don't know that it's an immigrant, but I just assume it is, and because the media won't tell us, which is lying through omission, right? They're not going to tell us who did it, where the person comes from, where they hailed from, because they want to protect illegal immigrants for some reason, and so they just won't tell us. They won't let us know, and I see that a lot in the media, not just the legacy media, a lot of the media. I mean, you've got to go digging around on X or something to find somebody who knows and is willing to say, the nationality of the person who committed the crime. And that just, again, points to the lies we're being told, the manipulation, and that is manipulation. Because if it was an American who did that, they'd be telling you their blood type, their license plate number, they'd be showing old high school photographs of the person. They'd be telling you everything you want to know about the person. We know everything about the person. But when it's somebody who's protected, in a protected group like the illegal immigrants, they won't do that because, they don't want to make Donald Trump's deportations justified or even look slightly justified. So they're just not going to show that shit, which that is more the story. The omission of the person's nationality is more the story to me than the crime that was committed, because the omission of the person's nationality is a crime committed against all Americans, all people of Western civilization, because they don't want us to know that these people are criminals and they're coming over here and committing acts of violence against the people of Western civilization. So yeah, I think that's a lot bigger story than the stabbing in actuality. Of course, not to the families of the victims or the victims themselves, but to society as a whole. I think that the lies and the hypocrisy are the bigger story. And I guess Israel is pausing their bombing in the Gaza Strip to allow humanitarian aid relief to be deposited in there or something for the women and children, which is good. I mean, that's good. To stop bombing, stop fighting everywhere in the world would be awesome. My whole thing with the Israel and the Palestinians and all that strife going on over there is I have no idea why that's going on over there. I honestly don't. I've heard a lot about it, quite a bit about it, but nobody's ever, come out and said, hey, this is why this war is going on. This is why they're fighting. This is why you should be on this side or the other. Nobody really understands or knows the details why, honestly. But we don't know the details or understand why we fight our wars. I mean, why the hell, we know what we're told. We were told that we went into Iraq because they had weapons of mass destruction, but we still do not know the real reason they went into Iraq, except maybe they just wanted to kick some Iraqi ass. I don't know, but they didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. And the same thing with Israel here. I have no idea why that thing is going on there. I'm pretty sure that Israel hasn't been invaded. Nobody's, trying to take Israeli land away from them, trying to invade them and, running tanks through their shit and trying to occupy Israel. I don't think so. I don't think that has happened. It's more just a terrorist, just hurting each other back and forth. And I don't think it's Israeli or Palestinian, shoemakers who are hurting each other and phone bombing each other and shit. I just don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe waitresses and cobblers and stuff hate each other so much that they'll sneak across the border at night and attack each other. I don't know. But I just don't believe that that's the case. I believe it's the governments and they're getting their people killed over some bullshit, just like our government does, just like every other government does. I don't think that the people really want that shit. They don't want to die and they don't want to kill. They're just trying to live in peace. But that's my opinion. Of course, it's an unpopular opinion. Everybody wants to believe in bigger things. And the bigger purposes for these things, and they don't want to admit that it's just for greed and for lust of power and shit like that, or because they've been blackmailed or whatever. Whatever these people, the reasons these people have, these people in power, whatever the reasons they have. But nobody wants to believe that, right? Everybody wants to believe in these bigger ideals like democracy and shit like that. So, but those are the questions I have. Why are they fighting? I don't care that they're fighting. I really don't. Go ahead, go at it. But I just wonder why. Now, when they send billions of our tax dollars over there, now I care. I care that billions of my tax dollars are sent over there to fund a war. That's what I care about, and that's the only thing I care about. Let them fight until they run out of money, and then they can just, go at it with stone clubs and stuff, and bow and arrows or whatever. Just let them have at it. I don't care. Just quit sending my tax money over there. Some good news is United States ice cream makers are agreeing to phase out artificial dyes by 2028, which is great news. My question is, why did you ever put that shit in there to begin with? Why? To what purpose? If you're going to use artificial dyes, and you don't have to, if you can use natural, whole, real food to dye with, or natural, natural coloring from other foods to dye the food with and to keep people healthy, why would you put some chemical bullshit in our food? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't cost that much more money. Yeah, I know that the chemicals, waste byproducts that just happen to turn ice cream blue are cheaper than, blueberry juice. Yeah, I get that. But it's not that much cheaper when you're buying in that kind of bulk. It's just not. A few cents a gallon probably. You know what I'm saying? It's not that big a deal. So when you're talking in millions of gallons of this shit, the prices aren't that drastic. It's not like they have to pay retail prices, $5-6 for a half a pound of blueberries. That's not the prices they're paying. Yeah, that's good news, but it points to the fact that the fact that they can do this, they can phase it out by 2028, and it's due to pressure from the government and from the people. My question is, why did you ever phase it in? Why was it ever phased in? Why was that poison bullshit ever put in our food? And it's just the ice cream makers now, so no other no other food company is promising to do that yet. But whatever, they're putting that shit in our food. They've been doing it for decades. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cholesterol, all this shit has been skyrocketing since they started, and everybody's blind to it. They just keep pounding all this artificial, highly processed bullshit and going to get them a pill. And then they're on these pills for the rest of their lives. So I don't understand any of that shit. But that's what we have. That's the industries we have in the United States, where it actually takes political pressure to force our food companies not to poison us, to stop poisoning us. That's where we're at. That's the world we're living in now. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I appreciate those of you who do that. Thank you very much. And I'll leave that link down in the description as well. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff over there. But I'll leave that link down in the description too for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out one hell of a lot, so thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really do appreciate it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.